Most fast-spreading perennials sold in America right now are the wrong kind of fast. They spread by smothering everything around them, getting reported as invasive in 3 states, and quietly turning your borders into a maintenance nightmare within 2 seasons. That is not what you want. What you want is the second kind, plants that fill in fast, give you serious summer color, and stay where you put them like they have manners. I am about to walk you through 10 of them. Plant 1 this season, and by next July you will have 3. By year 3, you will have enough to fill an entire bed for free, and your neighbors will start asking what your secret is. Pay attention, because the garden industry has been steering American homeowners toward annuals, single-season plants, and slow growers for decades for one simple reason. Those plants need replacing. Spreading perennials don't. They multiply, they perform, and they cost you nothing after the first purchase. If you have ever spent $200 on flats of summer color in May only to watch half of it die by August, this video is the correction you've been waiting for. Let's get into it. If this is your first time on this channel, I want you to do something for me before plant number 1. Hit subscribe right now. This channel puts out exactly this kind of content every single week. Free, no fluff, no recycled garden center marketing. Just real plants that actually work in real American yards. It takes 1 second and you will never miss what comes next. Plant 1. Bee Balm Jacob Cline. Monarda didyma Jacob Cline. This is the plant that turns a quiet backyard into a hummingbird highway in less time than it takes most perennials to settle in. By the second summer, you will have hummingbirds working your yard like clockwork, and most of your neighbors will assume you set up some kind of expensive feeder system. You did not. You planted one $12 perennial that spread itself out and did the work for you. Jacob Cline produces blazing scarlet red flower heads on tall, upright stems from late June through August. The color is not subtle. It is the kind of red you can see from across the yard, the kind of red that hummingbirds detect from hundreds of feet away, and the tubular shape of those flowers is biologically engineered for hummingbird beaks. They will not just visit, they will move in. Hardy in USDA zones 4 through 9, this plant covers nearly every American garden region from Maine straight down through Georgia. It spreads through underground rhizomes that push outward each season, filling a 4-foot patch from a single starter plant within 3 years. And here is the part most people miss. Jacob Cline was specifically selected for powdery mildew resistance, which is the one issue that gives older bee balm varieties a bad reputation. The standard species struggles with humidity. Jacob Cline does not. The leaves are completely edible and brew into a tea that tastes remarkably like Earl Grey. You are growing wildlife habitat, summer color, and a kitchen herb at the same time. Plant it in full sun with decent air circulation, give it room to spread, and walk away. Every 3 years, dig up the outer edges with a sharp spade. Each division becomes a new plant for free, and the parent stays vigorous for another decade. Plant 2. Threadleaf Coreopsis Moonbeam. Coreopsis verticillata Moonbeam. The Perennial Plant Association named this the Perennial Plant of the Year in 1992, and 3 decades later, it still outperforms almost every yellow-flowering perennial in American gardens. Most gardeners have never heard of it because the garden industry would rather sell you a flat of yellow petunias every spring than tell you about a plant that handles the same job for 30 years. Moonbeam produces soft, creamy lemon-yellow flowers continuously from June through September. The color is not loud. It is the kind of pale yellow that makes everything around it look better, that softens hot reds, that brightens cool blues, that ties together a mixed border without ever competing with anything. The foliage is fine and thread-like, almost ferny, which gives the plant a delicate visual texture even when it is not in bloom. Hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9, Threadleaf Coreopsis spreads through short underground rhizomes at a pace that fills a 3-foot circle from a single plant within 2 seasons. Aggressive enough to do real work in your borders, controlled enough that you will never fight it. That is a rare combination, and it is why this plant has held its reputation for so long. It is drought-tolerant once established, deer-resistant, and pollinator-magnetic. Bees, butterflies, and beneficial wasps work the flowers continuously. The plant essentially runs its own pollinator program in your yard at zero cost. Cut it back by a third in mid-July, right when the first flush is fading. It rebounds within 2 weeks with a second wave of flowers that carries straight through to fall frost. One plant, 4 months of color, fills a wide patch on its own. That is the math the garden industry hopes you never run. Plant 3. Salvia May Night. Salvia X Sylvestris May Night. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You walked into the garden center looking for a hardy perennial salvia. They sold you a tender Mexican sage or a culinary herb, and it died over winter. You went back next spring, repeated the cycle, and started thinking maybe salvias just don't work in your zone. They do. You were sold the wrong kind. May Night is a true cold hardy perennial salvia, hardy in USDA zones 4 through 8, and the deep violet-purple flower spikes it produces in late spring and early summer are some of the most saturated, richest blues you can put in an American garden. Pollinators cover this plant. Bumblebees, mason bees, hummingbirds, and native solitary bees work the flower spikes from sunrise to sunset every single day for weeks. The plant spreads slowly outward into wider clumps each season, and after 3 years you can divide it in early spring into 3 or 4 new plants. It is not aggressive, it is steady, dependable, and reliable in a way most flowering perennials cannot match. Here is the trick most gardeners miss. After the first bloom flush ends in late June, cut the entire plant back to about 6 inches. It looks dramatic for 10 days. Then it explodes back with a second flush of flowers that carries through August and often into September. 2 complete bloom cycles from one plant in one season with one cut. Skip that cut and you lose 2 months of color for no reason. Deer walk past it. Rabbits ignore it. The aromatic foliage actively repels both. It pairs beautifully with yellow daylilies, with white Shasta daisies, with anything golden, white, or silver. Plant it once, watch it earn its space for the next 20 years. Plant 4. Blazing Star Kobold. Liatra spicata Kobold. This is a North American native prairie plant, which means it evolved on this continent, in this soil, under American conditions. It does not need to be babied because the American Midwest is its home. And yet most home gardeners have still never grown it because garden centers focus their marketing budgets on European and Asian imports that need more of your attention and more of your money. Kobold produces hot pink-purple flower spikes that bloom from the top down, which is unusual and visually striking. Most flower spikes bloom from the bottom up. Liatris does the opposite, and that small reversal makes it look distinctive in every border you put it in. The bloom period runs from mid-July through August, right when most spring perennials are exhausted and your garden is desperately looking for something to step forward. Hardy in USDA zones 3 through 8. This plant grows from underground corms that multiply each season. One plant becomes 3 within 2 years, becomes 9 within 4. You can dig the corms up in fall, separate them with your fingers, and replant them anywhere you want a new colony. Free plants every single year, no skill required. Butterflies adore it. Monarchs use it as a refueling station during fall migration in the eastern half of the country, and tiger swallowtails work it daily through August. The flowers also make exceptional cut arrangements. Stems hold for over a week in a vase, and they retain their color even when dried. It handles drought, poor soil, and full sun without complaint. Avoid heavy clay and standing water in winter. That is the entire care requirement for a plant that will perform reliably for decades. If this is the kind of information you have been looking for and have not been able to find, do me one favor right now. Hit the like button on this video. Every single like tells YouTube to put this content in front of another gardener who is sitting in their backyard right now wondering why their plants keep failing. Your one tap helps someone else avoid wasting another season. That is a 1-second investment that costs you nothing and helps a stranger more than you will ever know. Plant 5. Crocosmia Lucifer. Crocosmia x Crocosmiflora Lucifer. The name is not a marketing exaggeration. This plant produces flame-red flowers that arc out from the top of tall, sword-shaped foliage in midsummer, and when they catch afternoon light, the entire plant looks genuinely lit from inside. Stop your car kind of lit. Pull over and stare kind of lit. Lucifer is hardy in USDA zones 5 through 9, and in the warmer end of that range it has performed spectacularly in American gardens for over 40 years. It grows from corms that multiply aggressively underground, producing a tight expanding clump that doubles in size every 2 seasons. By year 4, you have a 4-foot stand of architectural sword-shaped foliage topped with arching wands of fiery red flowers, and people will assume you hired someone to design it. Hummingbirds work this plant compulsively. The trumpet-shaped flowers, the vivid red color, and the staggered bloom timing make it one of the most reliable hummingbird magnets you can plant in an American garden. If you grow it alongside bee balm and salvia, you have built a hummingbird highway that runs from June through September without buying a single feeder or a single bag of sugar. Plant the corms in spring, 4 inches deep in full sun. After they establish in their first season, they need almost nothing from you. Drought-tolerant once rooted in, deer-resistant, disease-resistant. In the coldest zones where it is hardy, mulch the crowns heavily before winter. That single step extends its survival further north than the catalog descriptions suggest. Cut the foliage back in late fall after frost. In spring, the new growth comes up effortlessly, and the cycle starts over, fuller and more impressive every year. Plant 6. Veronica Sunny Border Blue. Veronica spicata Sunny Border Blue. True blue is one of the rarest colors in flowering perennials. Most plants marketed as blue are actually purple, or violet, or lavender, with a blue tint at best. Veronica Sunny Border Blue is a real deep saturated blue, and it is one of the only perennials that delivers that color reliably across nearly every American zone. This plant won the Perennial Plant of the Year award in 1993, and it has held its reputation for over 30 years because it actually does what gardeners want it to do without complaint. Hardy in USDA zones 4 through 8, it produces upright spikes of small, densely packed blue flowers from June through September, blooming continuously without any deadheading required. It spreads slowly through underground crown expansion, forming a tight clump that doubles within 3 years. You divide it every 4 years in early spring, and each division becomes a complete blooming plant for free. The math is the same as every other perennial on this list. One plant becomes a colony, becomes a feature, becomes a permanent part of your garden without ever costing you another dollar. Pollinators work it constantly. Butterflies, bees, and beneficial wasps cover the flower spikes through the entire bloom period. Deer avoid it. Rabbits avoid it. Disease pressure is almost non-existent. Cut spent flower spikes back to the basal foliage after they fade, and you will trigger a second flush of flowers within 3 weeks. Most gardeners skip this step and lose 6 weeks of color every single summer. Pair it with yellow Coreopsis, white Shasta daisies, or pink coneflowers, and you have a classic American summer border that performs without effort for the next 20 years. Plant 7. Perennial Sunflower Lemon Queen. Helianthus Lemon Queen. This is not the giant annual sunflower from your grandmother's vegetable garden. This is a true perennial, hardy in USDA zones 4 through 9, and it solves one of the most frustrating problems in American summer gardens: the August color collapse. Most perennials peak in June and July. By the time August arrives, your garden looks tired, faded, and finished. Lemon Queen does not even start blooming until late July, and it carries strong through September and into October. While everything else in your yard is calling it a season, this plant is just hitting its stride. The flowers are soft pale yellow, smaller than annual sunflower blooms but produced in massive quantities, often hundreds of flowers per plant on stems that reach 5 to 7 feet tall. The plant becomes a glowing pillar of yellow at the back of a sunny border, and the bumblebees and native pollinators that work it are extraordinary in number. Goldfinches feed on the seed heads from October through December. It spreads through underground rhizomes at a steady, manageable pace. One plant fills a 4-foot patch within 3 seasons. Divide it every 3 years in early spring, and you will have free plants to give to neighbors, friends, and anyone who walks past your yard in August and asks what that incredible yellow tower is. Plant in full sun in average soil and stake it once if your site is windy. Beyond that, this plant asks for nothing and delivers more late-season impact than almost anything else you can put in a sunny border. The Xerces Society has documented lemon queen as one of the top pollinator plants for late-season nectar production in North America. Growing it is a direct contribution to pollinator survival in your region. Plant 8. Spiderwort Sweet Kate, Tradescantia Sweet Kate. Most gardeners have never given spiderwort a second look, and that is exactly why this plant is one of the best-kept secrets in American summer gardening. The standard green spiderwort is fine. Sweet Kate is something else entirely. The foliage is bright, glowing chartreuse gold, almost yellow in full sun, and the flowers are deep electric purple-blue. The color combination is so intense and so unusual that visitors will stop walking and ask what it is every single time. Hardy in USDA zones 4 through 9, this plant performs in part shade, full sun, dry soil, and average soil without flinching. Spiderwort flowers open in the morning and close by afternoon. Each individual flower lasts a single day. But the plant produces dozens of flower buds per stem, and a mature clump opens fresh purple-blue flowers every morning for 2 full months from June through August. You wake up, you walk outside with coffee, and there is a fresh display of color waiting for you every day for 2 months. It spreads through both underground rhizomes and self-seeding, forming wider clumps each year and occasionally popping up in nearby spots where you did not plant it. The volunteer seedlings are easy to move or remove if they appear somewhere you do not want them. When the foliage starts looking tired in midsummer, cut the entire plant back to 4 inches. It rebounds within 3 weeks with a second flush of fresh chartreuse foliage and another round of flowers that carries into fall. Plant it next to dark purple heuchera, deep red bee balm, or burgundy ornamental grasses, and the color contrast looks like a professional designer staged it. You did almost nothing. Plant 9. Persicaria Firetail, Persicaria amplexicolis Firetail. If you have never grown Persicaria, this is the one that will convert you. It blooms continuously from June through October, 5 months of color from a single plant. No deadheading, no staking, no fertilizing, no drama. Firetail produces tall, slender, magenta-red flower spikes that look like glowing matchsticks held above a dense mound of green foliage. The flower spikes wave in the breeze and pull in pollinators all summer long. The plant reaches 4 feet tall and 4 feet wide within 3 seasons, filling a wide patch in your border with continuous color and movement that almost no other perennial can match. Hardy in USDA zones 4 through 8, this plant tolerates a wide range of soil types and handles light shade in addition to full sun. It spreads through underground rhizomes at a moderate pace, expanding into a wider clump each year without ever becoming aggressive enough to be a problem. Divide every 4 years in early spring to keep it vigorous and to multiply your stock for free. Deer ignore it, rabbits ignore it. Disease pressure is almost zero. The seed heads provide winter interest standing through the cold months, and birds feed on them through fall and early winter. There is no point in this plant's life cycle when it is not earning its space in your yard. Pair Firetail with ornamental grasses, with yellow Coreopsis, with white Shasta daisies, or with deep blue Salvia. The vertical magenta spikes against any of those backdrops creates the kind of layered, considered, professional-looking border that high-end landscape designers charge thousands of dollars to produce. You spent $15 on a plant that did all of it. Plant 10. Helenium Mardi Gras, Helenium autumnale Mardi Gras. Most American gardeners have never grown helenium because it does not have a friendly common name and because the garden industry mostly ignores it. Sneezeweed is the actual common name, and it is the worst possible marketing label for a plant this beautiful. The name comes from old folk medicine, not from any allergy connection. Helenium does not cause allergies. It is one of the most spectacular fall-blooming perennials in North America, and Mardi Gras is the variety that will completely change how you think about late summer color. The flowers are daisy-shaped, with petals that explode in bands of red, orange, and yellow simultaneously, often on the same flower head. Imagine a sunset compressed onto a single 2-inch bloom, multiplied across hundreds of flowers per plant. The color impact in August and September is genuinely unmatched by almost any other perennial available to American gardeners. Hardy in USDA zones 3 through 8, this plant grows in moist, average, or wet soil, which makes it one of the few summer color spreaders that performs in low spots and rain garden conditions where other plants struggle. It reaches 4 feet tall and spreads through underground rhizomes into wider clumps each season. Divide every 3 years in spring to maintain peak performance and to generate free divisions for the rest of your yard. Pinch the stems back by half in late May. That single cut produces a denser, more compact, self-supporting plant that does not flop and produces dramatically more flowers. Skip the pinch and you get a tall, leggy plant that needs staking. The pinch is the difference between a good Helenium and a spectacular one. Pollinators work it constantly through August and September when nectar sources are becoming scarce. Goldfinches feed on the seed heads through fall and winter. Plant it once. Watch it become the showstopper of your late summer garden every single year for the next 2 decades. Here is what I want you to take from everything you just heard. The hardest working gardens in America are not the ones where someone is out there every weekend deadheading, dividing, watering, and fussing. The hardest working gardens are the ones where the gardener picked the right 10 plants at the start, put them in the ground, and let them do what they were biologically built to do: spread, multiply, bloom, repeat. These 10 perennials cost less in total than 1 round of seasonal annuals at a big box garden center, and they will outlast every annual you ever buy by 20 years or more. The garden industry will keep pushing the seasonal replacement model because that is how they get you back through the door every spring. You do not have to keep walking through that door. Tell me in the comments which one of these 10 plants you are putting in your yard this season, and tell me what state you are gardening in. I read every single comment and I write future videos based on what you tell me. Your zone matters, your conditions matter, your problems matter, and they directly shape the content I make next. If this video saved you from another season of overpriced annuals and underperforming borders, the least you can do is hit subscribe right now. It is free, it costs you absolutely nothing, and it puts the next video and the one after that and the one after that directly in your feed every single week. New plants, new solutions, new honest information that the gardening industry would rather you never see. Do not be the person who finds this channel 6 months from now and wishes they had subscribed today. Hit the button, then go fill those borders. I will see you in the next one.